Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another product review and comparison. If you haven't seen the last one I did where I tested out the paper versus liquid highlighter, I will link that in the description box or somewhere up here so you can go and check that out. But today we are doing a battle of the concealers. As a lot of you may or may not already know, depending on how much you follow makeup on YouTube, Makeup Revolution have recently just launched their brand new concealer, which is meant to be a dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape. Now, ever since Tarte Shape Tape came on the market, it has just been everywhere. I've hardly heard anyone say a bad word about this foundation. It is full coverage, it is long wearing, they have a good shade range, it's this, that and the other, it pays your bills, it covers up all your imperfections, your debts are clear when you use this foundation apparently. But since Tarte has been completely cancelled, since they brought out their new Shape Tape foundation in 50 Shades of Beige, everybody's been looking to Makeup Revolution thinking, what can we use instead now that we no longer want to use Tarte? So of course I had to get my hands on this concealer because since I haven't really been wearing foundation, I mainly turned to concealers for my complexion products, so obviously I'm always on the lookout for new things. Now since I'm a cheap ass bitch and I don't actually own Shape Tape to compare it to, I thought I would try and compare the Makeup Revolution concealer to what I believe to be one of its main competitors in the drugstore market, and that is the NYX HD Concealer. I've heard this compared to the NARS Creamy Radiant, but again, I don't own that because I'm a cheap bitch. So I thought I would just compare the two of them. This one I actually use a lot and I really like it, but I want to see if there's any difference between, you know, consistency, coverage, wear time, shades, undertones and all that. So I'm going to do half NYX, half Makeup Revolution, or maybe the other way around. I'm going to wear them for the whole day, do some check-ins and see how they go. So I have 3 shades of each of the concealers and I'm going to try and use them in as many different ways as I possibly can to try and see how far I can push them. I'm going to use them both under my eyes as you normally would a concealer. I'm then going to use a darker shade kind of on my face to cover up my few blemishes and things like that. And then I'm also going to try and use it as eyelid primer because I know that does work quite well and I do that sometimes, but I want to see which one helps the eyeshadows to blend better, which one creases or doesn't, you know, that kind of thing, if it makes my eyelids any oilier, etc, etc. So the 3 shades that I have in the NYX are CW07, CW08 and CW08.6. Now I did buy these when I was abroad and the area that I was in, I must say, was not that ethnically diverse, so their shade range was a little bit lacking. So I think I'm gonna have to try and mix some of these shades when it comes to putting it, on my face. The CW08 is generally what I use under my eye. It's not so bright that it looks unnatural considering that I'm not wearing a full face of makeup with it. I know that they do in between shades, like, 8.2, 8.4, 8.6. I just haven't had a chance to get my hands on those, so I'm just gonna have to try and do a little mixy and see what I can do. The 3 shades that I have in the Makeup Revolution are C13, 14 and 15. I think 13 is probably going to be a very good under eye kind of highlighty shade. C14 I swatched and I think it is a pretty good shade match for me, but the undertone is a little bit neutral to the point where it kind of looks a bit grey. So even though C15 is a little bit too dark, it's got a bit of a warmer undertone, so I think if I mix them together, that could work for me. Okay, so I've primed my face, I've colour corrected slightly, I've added a tiny bit of cream highlighter, and I've set all of that with a very, very light dusting of powder. As usual, all the products I use will be listed in the description bar below. So at this point in my routine is when I would apply my under eye concealer, because then I would do my eyes and then I'd do the rest of my face and set everything and then I'd be off. So I'm going to start with the NYX one. I'm in shade CW08 and the lid is broken. So I'm just going to start by applying, can I even see? I'm just going to place the wand literally right up next to my eye, right in the inner corner. I do not use a lot at all, literally just that much, and then just a little bit on my eyelid as well. Now I'm going to do the same with the Makeup Revolution. Ooh, that is a big applicator. She seems to be quite... Wow, that is thick. Oh my god, wow. Yeah, this is definitely going to have some coverage. I'm not really used to having an under eye concealer this thick, and I'm not used to an applicator this thick. So normally I wouldn't blend out my concealer straight away. I'd let it sit for a little while because doing that allows the concealer to kind of set, and then when you blend it out, it increases the amount of coverage that you get because it's not all being absorbed by your sponge. It also kind of I think it kind of increases the longevity of the wear time because obviously it's had a chance to set for a little while. So while I'm letting this sit for a bit, I'm just gonna ramble. So enjoy. So I think these two concealers are pretty similar in price point. I know I definitely paid £4 for each of these. I can't say exactly how much this NYX one cost because, as I said, I got it abroad and this is quite a while ago, so I paid euros. But if memory serves me correctly, I think this one is about £6 and this one is... doesn't say how much you get. It's 3 grams of product and this one is 3.4. So, actually no, they both say 0.11 fluid ounces. So you get the same amount of product. Obviously this one is just slightly cheaper, but again it depends what kind of thing you go for. NYX one is definitely thinner in consistency, but it does have good coverage. If you can see, it's kind of watery and it kind of smooths on quite nicely. Whereas the Makeup Revolution one, when you pull it out, the top of it is kind of covered with a big glob of product, and when you put it on, you can see it kind of goes on a lot thicker. And as I was saying about the applicator, I've only ever been used to having an applicator this big with the Clinique Beyond Perfecting foundation. And I think it kind of works with this because obviously you're using it as a foundation, so you're putting it all over your face. But as an under eye concealer, I'm not sure how that works. I think if you're doing like proper full glam, I guess it can kind of work if you're applying a lot of concealer. But if you're someone like me and you only want a little bit, it can be very easy to apply too much. Whereas with the NYX one, because the applicator is so small, you can get it really precise to exactly where you want it. So I'm going to start by blending out the NYX side just because I know kind of how that performs and I'm used to it. So then it would be easier for me to compare the Makeup Revolution one. So going in with the point of my sponge along the eye and then kind of down my nose in a sort of triangular shape. And as you can see, the colour is not way too light compared to my skin that... oh, sorry, I'm really not well. That it looks kind of ridiculous, but then you still kind of do get that nice, bright and highlighted under eye. I'm just quickly going to blend out the eyelid as well. So as you can see, very nice coverage. It's very lightweight, doesn't look heavy or cakey on the skin or anything. So I'm going to turn my sponge to the other side and then see how Makeup Revolution goes. Okay, this one definitely kind of sets faster. I'm finding it a little bit harder to blend this out. It's still not impossible. And I have to say it does look a bit drier on the skin. Whereas the NYX one looks... it's a bit more hydrating. I mean, I'm not mad at drier products, obviously, because I have oily skin, so this may be good for me, especially if I'm putting it all over my face as well. So far I'm saying coverage is pretty similar. But yeah, the Makeup Revolution is definitely kind of a drier formula, so if you do have a lot of texture on your skin, it's probably going to highlight that a considerable amount. Just going to set each under eye and eyelid real quick before they start to crease. I'm just using the RCMA No Colour Powder on my sponge. I'm not baking or anything, I just like to use a lot of powder because I just like to make sure that everything is all set. And I have to say, in terms of colour, they're very similar. Like, it doesn't visibly look like I'm wearing two concealers, otherwise that would look kind of ridiculous. So once I've set my concealer, generally at this point in my routine is when I would do all of my eye makeup. So I'm going to do that and then I will come back and we will do the rest of the face and see how the concealers work. Okay, so my eyes are done and let's just not talk about them because today was just one of those days when nothing wanted to cooperate, and to be quite frank, I think they look absolutely terrible. But that is through no fault of the concealer. Actually, I will say there wasn't much difference in how the makeup applied on each eye, though I will say the NYX side, the eyeshadow did blend slightly better. And if I do look closely at this under eye, I feel like it has creased a tiny little bit more than the NYX. Again, I think that's due to the fact that the formula is a little bit drier. So if you have really oily under eyes, then this may be really good for you. But even though I have very oily skin, my under eyes don't tend to get that oily. So I think for under eyes, I have to give it to the NYX. I think it's performing slightly better so far. So moving on to the face now. The concealer that I normally use on my face is the LA Girl ProConceal in shade Chestnut. Now looking at the Makeup Revolution and NYX foundations, none of the shades that I have really match up to this because this is almost a perfect skin match. So as I said earlier, I'm going to have to try and mix some of the shades. So I think I'm going to mix C14 and 15 for the Makeup Revolution and the shades CW08 and 8.6 for this side. I think the CW07 would just be way too light and it would just look a bit crazy. So I have some applied on each side, and as I've learned from the under eye, the Makeup Revolution one does dry faster and set, so I'm actually going to start by blending out this side. Oh wow, that does blend really nicely on the face actually. And the finish is absolutely... that was so easy. That was so easy. It's literally done already. And that looks really nice as well. It doesn't look dry at all. It's literally just blended itself. At this point, I'm just wasting time and effort. But I just want to make sure. Yeah, it's literally done. My life has never been this simple before. Right, let me try the NYX side. Turn my sponge around. I've never actually used the NYX one on my entire face, only just the under eyes, so I don't actually know how it's gonna fare up against my oily skin. I feel like that is a little bit too dark, so I'm gonna try and add a bit more. Yeah, this is the right one. Too many things in my hands. So I just add like that. I don't want to add too much because then I don't want it to start getting cakey or like it loses its wear time, but then I also just don't want to look ridiculously dark. Yeah, I think that's better. That is definitely better. I have to say the Makeup Revolution did blend out a lot easier. Finish of each is largely the same. I think the Makeup Revolution coverage is slightly better, and I think looking really up close, I think I have to say I like the finish of the Makeup Revolution a lot better. But we will see. I'm going to powder everything, I'll finish up my face, and I will be back. Okay, so here is my finished face. Have to say, for starters, I didn't notice any noticeable differences about how the rest of my makeup applied, like my contour and highlight, etc, etc. Although I will say, as I said before, I do like the finish of the Makeup Revolution side better, but I think the coverage of the NYX one is slightly higher, although that could be because I had to add that little bit more to get the colour right. And even though the NYX side is a little bit higher coverage, I'm not really a huge like high coverage person anyway, so that doesn't really bother me that much. But I will say I'd prefer if something had a nicer finish and slightly lower coverage, that it was really high coverage and it would looked a bit heavy. It doesn't look cakey or anything, but if you really look closely side to side, the NYX one does look slightly heavier. I mean, these differences that I'm pointing out are like absolutely minuscule. You only notice them if you are looking for them. But I just wanted to note that in case that is something that you are worried about. So right now, I'm really on the fence about which one I like best. I still like the NYX better under the eye because the Makeup Revolution one has creased already very slightly. But I do like the Makeup Revolution better on the skin. So we will just have to wear it throughout the day, see how each one wears. I feel like this one is going to combat my oils slightly better than the NYX one, but we shall just have to see. Okay, so this isn't an official check-in because I haven't been wearing this makeup for very long. I literally just stopped filming and then walked out of my house. But I just want to show you kind of how my face is looking in natural light. Looking in this light, I still feel like both sides of my face are a little bit dark, so I think I just got my mixture slightly off, but I can adjust that for next time. But I just want to show you there's no like, they don't look strange or anything like that. They both look pretty nice actually on my skin up close. Still think the Makeup Revolution side looks better, but the differences between them are so minuscule. Like, they both look great, so it really just depends what it is that you're looking for, if you want like thicker consistency or thinner consistency, etc, etc. Okay, I just wanted to quickly point this out. I don't know if you can see, but this eye is watering really bad. I don't know if it's just because I'm not too well, or maybe I'm having some kind of reaction to the concealer, I don't know. But it's literally just kind of, you can see the kind of trail of the water there, which is really strange. Because it's not happening on this eye. My eyes aren't stinging or anything, they've just randomly started watering and it's kind of messing up the concealer. I think where the tears are kind of mixing with the powder and the concealer and everything, like it's kind of taking it off. That is really strange.
Actually, I should send it to my dad. My dad is like...
So, friends, which side of my face do you like the best?
I can't see a difference.
What do you think? Okay.
The left side is far better.
Any particular reason why?
Yeah. I'm just not feeling like sharing it.
You guys are all trash. Look who I just ran into!
Oh my god.
So, what do you think of my face?
It's good. Are you not posting this tonight? It's good.
Which side of my face do you think looks better?
I can't see, it's dark now.
Okay. So they both just look amazing?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll take that.
Nice.
Thank you. It's not looking too bad actually. I've had this makeup on for like maybe 4 or 5 hours. I'm not getting too oily, surprisingly. Well, okay, let's ignore my forehead. But both sides of my face are still looking pretty good. Okay, so I think this is going to be my last check-in of today because, as I said earlier, I'm really not feeling that well. I'm just kind of exhausted. I just want to get this makeup off and get cozy and chill at home. Also, looking at my face, I don't really think that much is going to change after this point. So looking at my skin, both sides, I have to say, are looking pretty bomb. Like, both of them are surpassing my LA Girl ProConceal that I normally wear, so she's out the window. They've both held up so much better. I have not touched up my face once today. So apart from this little bit of shine on my forehead, which even that is not that much, considering I haven't got any concealer or anything on my forehead, both sides of my face are looking pretty good. They're still very matte, but they still look kind of like natural. They're not like overly textured, they're not overly oily. There's not a lot of difference between either of them. So again, I'll have to say I do still like the Makeup Revolution side a little bit better. I think also the application process, just because the applicator is a little bit bigger, it was easier for me to distribute the product and get a good ratio between the two colours that I'll have to mix. Whereas the NYX side, it was a bit harder because the applicator is so small, so obviously that's better for under eyes, and the Makeup Revolution one has creased significantly more. And also, again, that whole weird eye watering thing that I have not got to the bottom of because it's not stinging my eyes or anything like that, so I don't know why that was happening, but maybe I'll try it out again another time and see what happens. I will say though that shade range wise, the Makeup Revolution is not amazing, because if you think about the shades 13 and 14 between the ones I used on my under eye and the one I used on my face, there's quite a significant difference between those two colours, and there aren't any shades in between that, and I think there could be some more shades and different undertones. So right now I think there's only 18 shades in the Makeup Revolution concealer, so hopefully in future they will extend that shade range, because right now it's a good range from light to dark, but it's not very diverse, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of range of different undertones, etc, etc. Whereas the NYX one, I guess, has been out for longer, so they have a lot more of a wider shade range. So if that is something that you need to consider, if you have maybe skin with not so common undertones, etc, maybe the NYX one is for you. But I think it's kind of 50-50. NYX is definitely better for the under eyes, and I think as an eyeshadow primer as well, just because it is that thin in consistency. But the Makeup Revolution one I really like as well. I mean, it is a thicker consistency, but it doesn't feel heavy on the skin. I guess maybe just because the NYX one is what I'm used to. So I guess it really all depends what you're looking for, what kind of places you shop in, because I think NYX is only available like at NYX stores or at larger boot stores, whereas Makeup Revolution is available in all Superdrugs. But then again, it's whether they're going to hold your shade. So I think that is up to you to decide. They are both very good concealers. I would recommend them both, so that may not really be that helpful to you because you've watched this whole video and I haven't come to a definite conclusion. But yeah, I recommend both of them. I think they're both pretty good. It depends also on your skin type. Maybe if you have drier skin, Makeup Revolution one is not going to be for you. It's going to be too drying. If you have drier skin, the NYX one may be better. So it's very hard to tell. They're both good concealers, and it's not like that they're expensive, so you probably could afford to buy both and try both and see which one you like. but I'm also aware that I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop doing that. And I hope you found this video helpful, even though I've not come to any kind of definitive conclusion. But I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and if you have, make sure you comment down below and like it and subscribe to my channel, etc, etc, etc. And I shall see you next time. Goodbye.